Bubbles and Views here. I'm doing this YouTube video for you guys, and I have the pleasure of sitting down with the king of old school, Steve Corino.
How are you?
I'm pretty good.
It's the first time I'm doing an interview, so I'm a little nervous.
First time. Of course, yeah. Awesome. Start off with like a question you probably get kind of often. How'd you get into wrestling?
I was a huge fan as a kid. When I was 8 years old, my parents had gotten cable TV for the first time. This is 1981, and we had lived outside of Philadelphia. And I was always a big baseball fan, so I was looking for baseball as an 8-year-old kid pushing the buttons, and I stumbled on Georgia Championship Wrestling on TBS, and like I was immediately hooked. Like that's like I don't know, like something in me at 8 years old said like this is what I want to be. And throughout the years, I was a fan and stuff like that. And then I'd hurt my knee in college playing baseball, and like I saw a advertisement for a wrestling school in Reading, Pennsylvania, and all I wanted to be told was no. I was small and thin and stuff like that. And I had like a baseball body, so I went there, and all I wanted to be told was no. You weren't good enough. You weren't athletic enough. You're not smart enough. Blah 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 blah. And 22 years later, I'm still doing it. Yeah. So. I dedicated myself to it, and I was a student of the game. So, and that's how I got started. It was just getting started in the little indies in Pennsylvania and working my way up.
Yeah. So of course you're pretty known for being an ECW, former ECW World Heavyweight Champion. How's your time there?
A lot of people will give you different like experiences with ECW. For me, it was such a learning experience. I was so young when I went there. I was 25 when I debuted. I was 27 when I won the world title. So for me, it was like I was on eggshells every day because I didn't want to screw up. There were so many veterans in the locker room. Like when I first got there, there was Shane Douglas and Tommy Rich and Tracy Smothers and the Dudleys and Taz. And, you didn't want to screw up in front of these guys because, they were hard on the young guys because they were... the people before them were hard on them. So, for me, it was, now I think back 16 years and I'm like, man, that was a cool time, but I wish I would have taken the time to like step back and enjoy it for what it was because, I don't have the nostalgia that like someone that watched it for so long does have because I think I was just always in my bubble worried about, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right job? Am I not disrespecting anybody? And it was just it was such a cluster in my mind that years later I look back, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Or somebody reminds me of like, hey, I saw this match with Jerry Lynn or Dusty Rhodes, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was me. Like, man, that was such a cool time. I just it really taught me to enjoy the moment.
Yeah, of course. Do you still have any like lasting friendships from ECW?
Oh yeah, I mean, CW Anderson's been my best friend for 20 years. I still talk to Jack Victory a couple times a month. Rhino, of course. Funny stories. Me and Tommy Dreamer didn't get along in ECW, and now we're buddies. It's crazy how it changed. Shane Douglas, I talk to every once in a while. I'm trying to think Tajiri, Masato Tanaka is one of my best friends. Just from years ago into Japan. So I would say I talk to more people now than I did, than I would have thought I did,
Cool. All right. You're also ECW, also known for Ring of Honor. You spent a long time there, rivalry with Homicide. And you were the mentor of Kevin Steen, now Kevin Owens in WWE. How was working with him?
Kevin, he reminded me a lot of me when I was first starting out. Like he was just he was a sponge. He just wanted more information. He wanted to get better. He wanted to create new things. He didn't want to be just the prototypical wrestler. He wanted to think outside the box. And eventually I just learned you have to eliminate the box. Why are we thinking outside the box? Why don't we just eliminate the box and go even further? And that's what Kevin did. And it was great because I had wrestled him for the first time in Quebec when he was, I want to say 19 years old. And I went to Gabe. I saw him and Generico on a show. I wrestled Kevin. And I went to Gabe, who was booking at ROH at the time. I said, man, you got to bring these two kids in. They're phenomenal. And eventually he did. And, Kevin, the more confident he got, the better he got. The more the office would let him, come up with some ideas, and the whole me mentoring him to turn against El Generico and Colt Cabana, that whole feud of 2010, when that was all Kevin, and it was really cool that Adam Pearce, let us have that time, because, it's rare in today's wrestling when feuds last more than 2 months, 3 months, and stuff like that. That one lasted a full year, so, and no one got tired of it. And that was the cool thing. And now they're doing it again in WWE. So like I'm like a proud older brother, watching these guys, make that big money on the bigger stage, and it's so cool for me.
Yeah, and you were his last match in Ring of Honor, which is a pretty big deal. Yeah, are you still friends with him to this day?
Oh yeah, I just talked to him this morning. So we talk 5 days a week. Just random things that just come up during the day, and but yeah, he chose me for his last match, and I was so surprised, because I hadn't wrestled in ROH for like 14 months. I was trying to transition into that broadcasting role. I was pretty adamant about not wanting to wrestle until I was established as a broadcaster too, so that people could go, oh, he could wrestle here or he could broadcast here. You don't want to be the guest broadcaster. I wanted to show people that I could handle it full time before stepping back in the ring if I needed to.
Instead of being the guest broadcaster, being the guest wrestler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so now that I can do it, off and on, it'll be great. But so he had chose me as that final opponent when he could have chose anybody. And one of the greatest honors of my whole career is that, like I said, he could have picked anybody, but he chose me, and it was a lot of fun.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So of course, speaking of Ring of Honor, I was actually watching a shoot interview with CM Punk and Samoa Joe from around 2005, and he was telling some interesting stories about your friendship with him. You two still friends?
Me and Punk? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Me and Joe too. But me and Punk have always been friends, and we've always had like a fun, pick on each other thing. Like, I'll text him a picture of some USC thing. I'll be like, "Is this you?" He'll be like, "You, man, right?" Yeah. And then he'll send me something. He's a big Cubs fan, a big Phillies fan. So like this week has been hell, because I'm getting stuff all the time about him. The Cubs beating the Phillies. But he's just always been a good guy and a real guy. You'll hear people talk bad about him, but those are the people that probably did something bad to him, or he saw something. He hates that fakeness. So it was. It's really cool that I can call him a friend. And what's crazy is he is one of the first people every August to wish my son a happy birthday. To this day, my son will get a text like, "Oh, yeah, thanks, Punker." So yeah, he hasn't changed since the day I met him.
That's pretty awesome.
He just has way more money now.
Yeah. So what made you gravitate to being the king of old school and the old school style of wrestling?
It was something that, growing up in the 80s and stuff like that, and I grew up in the Northeast, which was more of a WWF territory, as opposed to Georgia Championship Wrestling, which was the Southern and the NWA. And when I first got into wrestling, I saw guys like my size high flying, and I could do it, but I thought, man, if I could be different, if I could say that, I'm from the old school, I want to wrestle like an old school guy, maybe it'll take off. And it did pretty good, but I did Puerto Rico and Memphis is just like generic Steve Corino for months on end. And when I finally got my shot in ECW, Paul asked me, he's like, how would you portray yourself on TV? I said, hey, I got this thing, and it's the king of old school. And at first he said, look, I don't want to confuse people with like law, or I don't want any lawsuits. He's like, we're just gonna, you're just old school and stuff like that. It wasn't until Joey Styles, one of the pay-per-views, was mad or something, and he just started calling me king of old school just to irritate Paul. So and Paul didn't want to hit the bleep button too much unless it was a curse word. So king of old school, and people like stuck on it. But the king name comes from King Curtis Iakea and also King Kalua, who's one of my original trainers. So it has nothing to do with royalty. It's more based off Hawaiian and island stuff. I've spent a lot of time in Hawaii, and also Puerto Rico and the Caribbean and the Pacific and stuff like that. So the King name came more from what that was, as opposed to like where Jerry Lawler's royalty and other guys are royalty. It has nothing to do with royalty.
Awesome. Okay, what would you give as a tip to like the up and coming wrestlers and the younger generation?
I would tell them to, like I said earlier, we always think about like thinking outside the box, eliminate the box. 2016 is the coolest time for pro wrestling. All the rules are being broken. NXT is working with Evolve and Progress, and all these indie groups are acknowledging New Japan Pro Wrestling at the same time as New Japan Pro Wrestling is working with Ring of Honor, and Lucha Underground's got its thing, and TNA's got its thing, and PWG is the new all-star promotion that everybody wants to go there. It doesn't have to be a storyline; it's just the best action, and there's so many different things, and it's just a cool time. So it's just start throwing stuff against the wall and see what sticks. Get out there. It's a great time for driving to these little towns and working on things. And okay, what does NXT look for? Okay, they need me to look a certain way and act a certain way. Okay, I'm going to use these shows to use that. And okay, what's ROH looking for? Okay, I'm going to use these shows to work for that. So instead of just work an independent show just to work an independent show, you want to work an independent show with the idea of, okay, what am I going to do in this match to entertain fans, which is the most important thing, and then enhance my career. What's the lasting moment I'm going to give these people so that I can show Matt Bloom and Adam Pearce and Sarah Del Rey or Dave Lagan or Hunter Johnson, Kevin Kelly, and Christopher Daniels. What am I going to show these guys? Okay, I can show them different things. So I tell everybody, don't get stuck in one style. Learn it all. You might not be good at 7 styles, but you may be good at 2. But WWE may look and say, hey, you know what? You're not that good at this style, but we have an idea for something, and we can teach you how to be that style. So always be the sponge, because the more information you can get, the better you're going to be.
Awesome. Okay. What's probably your favorite match of your whole career?
This one, it probably Dusty at Living Dangerously 2000. That was, just being a boy that loved wrestling as a kid and watching Dusty, in the arenas as a kid, and then getting to wrestle him in that type of match. Wrestling Kevin at his last match, also at Final Battle 2011, I think, 11, yeah. In New York, I love doing that. I think I've had more good moments in wrestling than I have bad, so I've had a really bad match against Marty Jannetty, but everything else has been good, I had an awful experience with Sid powerbombing me on my head, but everything else has been good. So I have a lot of favorites, just not many, you can never think of the negative, you always got to think positive. So I try to go in with every match and think, let me go in, entertain people, have fun, and live to see the next town.
Awesome. So what would you say, just favorite time of your career?
Right now?
Awesome.
Right now, because it's a never-ending story. So now in 2016, I'm making a comeback from major neck surgery. I'm 43 years old. What do I have left in the tank? And okay, well, how am I going to push myself to be relevant, in whether it's in the ring, whether it's in the broadcasting, whether it's in backstage stuff. So it becomes more fun. And maybe because I'm older, I look at things as enjoy the moment. Whereas I didn't have that chance in ECW. I was too scared to sit back and smell the roses. Now, man, every day I relax and I smell the roses, and I can't complain about anything, man. I got a pretty good life.
Awesome. And to finish off, any funny moments that stick out in your mind?
Hey, I have a lot of funny moments. I guess, I've been writing stuff for a book for years, so a lot of stuff's going to be in there. I once watched Jack Victory pee the bed in the hotel. It was by accident. He said it was an accident. I don't think it was. C.W. Anderson, before he got married, was a menace to women. I once went to a tranny bar with CM Punk in England.
Yeah, that was the story.
Was he telling? Yeah, we were not letting that guy get over on us. We went. We had a fun time. Although Punk almost got into a fight.
Yeah,
did he tell you? Did he say that? Okay. He almost got into a fight, and I said, "Hey man, you know what the headline's going to be? 250 transvestites beat 2 guys up." Yeah. So nowadays, if it happened, it would have been 250 transvestites beat up CM Punk and some other guys. Yeah, so like I always try and have fun no matter where I'm at, because how many guys have died, way before their time. So you got to live the moment. You got to live every moment like it's your last, because you don't get a second chance. So it's have fun and enjoy what you're doing.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been awesome.
Oh, my pleasure.
Awesome. All right. I'll see you guys later. Bubbles out.